first to the Williamson affair. We were told that it all was being referred to the Tory party in terms of this issue with the chief whip. Now we're being told it's also going to the parliamentary watchdog on bullying.
Yes, and this would imply that one of the individuals who seem to think of themselves as being bullied has submitted a formal complaint. That is the way in which these processes work. But ultimately, the fact that there are formal proceedings taking place with regard to exploring the level at which bullying took place, if indeed it took place at all, the fact that there are investigations to some extent gives cover to the Prime Minister, because what we've seen for the last 48 hours or so is the line out of Downing Street has been consistent. That because there is an independent investigation going on, it would be inappropriate for the Prime Minister to comment any further on this matter or to prejudge the outcome of these investigations. So to some extent, yes, it's bad for Gavin Williamson that indeed there are investigations of his conduct being undertaken. However, on the other side of the coin, that does give the Prime Minister space, or at least that's the view of Number 10, that whilst these investigations are going on, the Prime Minister can say that he won't comment. However, of course, the longer this is dragged on, the more is coming out, and that ultimately may well be what does for Gavin Williamson. If the story doesn't move on, if the lobby doesn't sort of seize on a new target, if there isn't something else that takes the sort of fickle gaze of journalists in Westminster, doesn't sort of move their gaze on, then more will be coming out about Gavin Williamson, because of course he has been at the centre of politics for a very long time. He was working in a unit for David Cameron before he became Chief Whip under Theresa May, and then Defence Secretary, and then Education Secretary. This is a man who's been integral to the running of governance for a very long time.
With, of course, his pet tarantula. Anyway, talking about little local difficulty and fickle issues, Suella Braverman, of course, is the other problem that he's had to deal with. Interesting, of course, that it's the Prime Minister himself who spoke to President Macron in Egypt about this issue of the migrant boats, and basically the indication there may be some deal in the offing.
Yes, it does seem that a deal is very close. Now, what would this mean? This would mean more intense cooperation between the British and the French, but also, frankly, it would mean British money being sent across to the French to enable that cooperation. Now, it must be said that a deal was getting close in the early stages of the summer, and many people are suggesting that that deal was sort of put on ice, was held off as a result of Liz Truss's less than warm words towards Emmanuel Macron, refusing to answer if she thought the French president was a friend or a foe. Well, it was very pertinent that yesterday, in Rishi Sunak's tweet celebrating his first meeting as Prime Minister with Emmanuel Macron, the very first word in that tweet was friend. Rishi Sunak really trying to emphasise the partnership between himself individually and Emmanuel Macron, and perhaps that is the basis for a deal.